If you're looking at brightening up a spot in your garden over winter, you can't go past using the thriller, spiller and filler method of growing container plants. What we have here is a selection of plants that work extremely well together, and you can mix this up any way you like with plants that you might enjoy. But just follow these 3 steps. You need to choose a good container and match up the container colour and the textures of your plants so that you end up with a really nice theme happening with your planting scheme. You need a good quality potting mix, one that's registered with the Australian standards. Once you've got your container full, you can then think about how are you going to place your plants. Well, first of all, we have our thriller. Now this is a Formium Bronze Baby. This one will sit at the back of our container because we're going to display this pot with a face from the front here. You could do an alternative and plant that into the center of your container and then use your fillers around the perimeter of the thriller, such as these tagetes or the marigolds, the French marigolds. So we have our thriller at the back, our fillers. We could separate these plants out, and I always like to work in odd numbers. So if you're going to put fillers in, use them in numbers of 3s or 5s or 7s, depending on the size of your container. So they would be placed in alongside our thriller. We'll space these accordingly, and then we have a spiller that comes out the front of the pot. Now this one here is a gorgeous Dichondra repens, which is commonly known as kidney weed. It's a gorgeous little ground cover plant that works really well as a spiller in this type of arrangement. So we place that towards the front of the container, and on doing so we then can see that that will spill out over the edge, just softening the edges of that hard container. And there you have it, a very simple way of tidying up your garden with some really nice colour as a focal point, either on the balcony or in amongst your shrubs. Thrillers, spillers and fillers. Get to it. Every gardener knows that soils ain't soils. When it comes to your soil, depending on where you live, your soil is going to vary. We can go from extremes where we have here what I refer to as dirty sand. This is the type of soil that you may find if you're living down in places like Giroa or Minamurra Spit, and you end up with this sandy soil that when I try to roll it, it doesn't roll into ribbons, it just falls apart, so it has no structure. How do we improve it? Well, we can add organic matter. When we go to the other end of the extreme, we have a clay soil. So many areas in Kiama, through Jamboree, etc., may be on these heavier types of soil that contain a lot of clay. Now with this one, I can grab a bolus, I can roll it in my hand, and it's going to form ribbons. So I know then that I've got a very heavy soil, and I may need to actually change this soil to improve its structure by adding different types of ameliorants, such as gypsum or lime. But that's another story because it's going to change our pH. We'll save that for next week. This soil is a fairly common soil you find across the LGA region, and it's basalt origin. I'm going to do a texture test on this one by just keeping a bolus in my hand. I add to that a little bit of water. We don't want too much. I may have overdone it. I'll squeeze out the excess. Now when I roll that in my hand, it doesn't form a ribbon like our clay did. It tends to sort of fall apart very, very easily. So this one has reasonably good drainage in it. Not bad. And how do I improve that? Well, it just so happens that this particular soil is identical to this one. The only difference here is that it's had added organic matter over a number of years, which is why it's got that beautiful dark brown, almost black colour, very crumbly in terms of its structure. This is the ideal soil that you're looking to grow your veggies in, or any plants for that matter. So improving your soil, getting that organic matter in there, will improve the structure, the aeration, the drainage. Most importantly, it improves the biological activity in your soil. Now, so when we're assessing the texture class of our soil, from sand, clay, or in this instance, a beautiful loam, we need to then look at soil chemistry. That's next week, where we'll be talking about pH and soil ameliorants.